The hidden secrets of 3.5 million years ago. The world, 3.5 million years ago, was a place beyond imagination, a world that no human eyes had ever seen, yet it was the birthplace of what would one day become us. The Earth was alive, untamed, and raw, its skies filled with storms, its lands ruled by beasts, and its secrets buried deep beneath the soil of time. But among the chaos of this ancient world, something extraordinary was happening. Far across the plains of East Africa, in a land that would later be called Ethiopia, a strange creature walked upright for the very first time. It wasn't fully human, yet not completely animal either. Her name, millions of years later, would be known to the world as Lucy, the first of her kind, the first to challenge nature itself. The discovery of Lucy in 1974 shocked the world. Her skeleton, preserved for over 3.5 million years, revealed a truth humanity wasn't ready for: that the story of man began far earlier than we ever imagined. But what most people don't know is that Lucy's world was not just a place of survival. It was a world of secrets, mysteries, and silent revolutions written in the dust of time. The land she lived in, the Afar Triangle, was a dangerous place. Volcanoes rumbled beneath the surface, rivers shifted their paths, and the climate swung between wet jungles and dry savannas. Every change pushed creatures to adapt or die. And that's when something incredible began. Somewhere deep in that chaos, a new way of life was taking shape. Lucy and her kind, known as Australopithecus afarensis, had started to walk upright, freeing their hands for something that no other creature had mastered: using tools. It was this single change, this small step, that would set in motion the greatest story in Earth's history. Yet, scientists still don't know why they began to walk upright. Was it the changing landscape, the shrinking forests, or something deeper, something nature itself was hiding? Fossil evidence tells us that the land was shifting violently during that time. Great rift valleys opened up, dividing forests and creating vast open plains. Food became scarce, predators multiplied, and the old ways of life were no longer enough. To survive, Lucy's kind had to evolve. Not in millions of years, but in mere generations. They learned to walk on two legs, to see over tall grass, to carry food and tools across long distances. But this new ability came with new dangers. Standing upright made them visible to predators: the saber-toothed cats, giant hyenas, and vultures that ruled the land. Every sunrise was a battle between life and death. Still, something inside Lucy's species pushed them forward. A spark, invisible but powerful, was beginning to burn in their minds. They started communicating through gestures and sounds, warning each other of danger, sharing small pieces of knowledge. It was primitive, but it was the beginning of human intelligence. Archaeologists have found strange marks on ancient stones near Lucy's fossils, cuts that could only have been made by sharp tools. Could these have been made by her kind? If yes, then the story of human technology began not 2 million, but 3.5 million years ago. This single possibility changes everything we know about our past. But the deeper scientists dig, the more questions arise. Who taught them to walk upright? Why did they evolve when other species vanished? And were they truly the first? Because recently, deep in the desert sands of Chad, researchers uncovered something even older: the remains of a mysterious creature with both human and ape-like features, dating back almost 7 million years. If this discovery is true, Lucy might not have been the first human ancestor after all. Could there have been others before her? Entire civilizations of early beings that time has completely erased? Every fossil found is like a whisper from the past, but the Earth still hides more than it reveals. The story of 3.5 million years ago is not just about fossils. It's about a moment when nature made a decision to create something beyond animal instinct, something capable of memory, emotion, and imagination. That decision gave birth to us. But the world Lucy lived in was cruel. Droughts swept across the land, killing herds and drying rivers. Massive storms reshaped valleys overnight. Even survival for one more day was uncertain. In this harsh world, standing upright was both a blessing and a curse. Still, Lucy and her kind survived. They adapted, they thrived, and as centuries passed, their children would become faster, smarter, and stronger, leading to a new chapter in evolution. But the question remains, what forced them to evolve so suddenly? Was it just nature? Or something far more mysterious? A force buried deep within the Earth's own design? As scientists continue to unearth bones and stones across Africa, they begin to see patterns, signs that evolution wasn't random at all, but part of a hidden process, unfolding exactly as if guided by an unseen hand. The mystery of 3.5 million years ago is not just about who we were, it's about why we became who we are. And that secret, buried in time, is still waiting to be revealed. The sun rose slowly over the ancient African horizon, a red, burning eye staring down at a world that was both alive and dying. The air shimmered with heat. The dry winds carried the scent of dust and decay. Herds of strange animals moved across the plains. Massive elephants with straight tusks, ancient giraffes taller than trees, and packs of saber-toothed predators silently hunting in the shadows. And in the midst of all this chaos, small groups of early humans struggled to survive. Lucy's kind, the Australopithecus afarensis, were not the strongest nor the fastest. They didn't have claws, fangs, or thick hides. But they had something no other creature possessed, a mind that was learning to think. Their survival depended not on power, but on awareness. Imagine their world, nights filled with roaring beasts, days filled with hunger and fear. Every step outside their shelter could mean death. Yet, despite it all, they adapted. They began to observe, to remember, and most importantly, to imagine. Somewhere deep in their primitive minds, a spark was forming, the beginning of curiosity. They started to notice patterns. When the rains would come, where the fruits would ripen, how certain rocks could be used to break open nuts or bones. These small observations were not random. They were the building blocks of intelligence. Archaeologists have found fossilized footprints near Lake Litoli in Tanzania, footprints that are 3.5 million years old. Two individuals walking side by side across a layer of volcanic ash that hardened into stone. These prints tell us something powerful, that they walked upright, together, not crawling, not running, walking side by side, just like humans do today. But there's something even more mysterious about those footprints. They show signs of hesitation, one step deeper than the other, as if they were being cautious, or perhaps being watched. Who or what was watching them? The plains were full of predators that ruled with fear. The Dinofelis, a terrifying saber-toothed cat, lurked in the grass. Crocodiles hid in muddy rivers, waiting for any creature to come close. Every moment was a gamble between life and death. Yet Lucy's species did not back down. They began to form small groups, working together, sharing food and protecting one another. That was the first time in Earth's history that cooperation, not violence, became a tool for survival. This was the real hidden secret of 3.5 million years ago. Not tools, not fire, but connection. Because in those silent gestures and shared looks, something greater was born. The first sense of community. And it would become the foundation of everything humanity would build millions of years later: families, tribes, civilizations, and nations. But as they evolved, the land around them began to change. Massive volcanic eruptions darkened the sky for months. Ash clouds blocked sunlight, killing plants and animals across vast regions. The world trembled, and the balance of life was broken. This forced Lucy's kind to migrate, to move across new lands in search of food and safety. Each journey brought new challenges: cold nights, strange creatures, and unknown dangers. But it also brought new discoveries. As they crossed rivers and valleys, they began to pick up stones, bones, and branches, not just for food, but as tools of survival. For the first time, a creature on Earth was shaping the world around it, instead of being shaped by it. Scientists still debate whether Lucy's species truly made tools, but new evidence, stone flakes found near ancient riverbeds, suggests they might have. If true, it means the first human hands to shape a tool did so more than 3.5 million years ago. And if that's the case, then the history of invention, the very thing that separates humans from animals, began far earlier than we ever believed. But then, another mystery appeared. In the early 2000s, researchers discovered bones in Kenya, older than any known human tools. These bones had strange cut marks on them, as if sharp-edged stones had been used to scrape meat from their surface. These marks were dated to the same period as Lucy, around 3.5 million years ago. Who made those cuts? Was it Lucy's kind? Or some other unknown species? One that vanished before history even began? Some scientists now believe there may have been multiple types of early humans living side by side, competing, surviving, evolving in silence. Only one line survived: ours. But why us? What made Lucy's descendants different from the others? Was it luck? Or something deeper? Perhaps the greatest secret of all lies not in bones or stones, but in the mind itself. Lucy's kind might have been the first to look up at the stars, not understanding them, but feeling something. A strange sense of wonder. A question that no animal had ever asked before. Why? That simple question, invisible, unspoken, ancient, became the seed of humanity. It pushed us to explore, to learn, to build, to dream. And from that small spark, millions of years later, we would walk on the moon. But between Lucy and us lies a long, dark gap, a missing chapter in our story. There are fossils yet to be found, stories yet to be told, and secrets still buried deep beneath the African soil. Each discovery brings us closer, yet each one reveals how much we still don't know. The footprints, the bones, the tools, they all whisper the same truth. Something extraordinary happened 3.5 million years ago. Something that changed the destiny of an entire planet. But what if there's still a piece missing? A secret that science hasn't uncovered yet. A clue hidden not in fossils, but in the Earth itself. Because deep underground, beneath layers of time, there are traces of ancient DNA, the oldest known evidence of life that might tell us who we truly were. But unlocking it could reveal something far more shocking than we're prepared to know. The question is, are we ready to face the truth of our own beginning? The world had changed. The lush green forests of Africa were slowly fading into golden grasslands. Rivers that once flowed endlessly were now drying into cracked valleys. The earth groaned beneath the shifting plates of time. Mountains rose, lakes disappeared, and storms carved the land like scars in stone. And in this ever-changing world, the next chapter of humanity was unfolding. Lucy's kind had survived for thousands of generations. Their footprints were now scattered across the ancient landscapes, silent witnesses to a struggle that few could imagine. But change never stops. Nature was preparing its next creation. Somewhere between 3 and 2.5 million years ago, a new species began to emerge, one that would carry the legacy of Lucy forward, but in a completely new form. This species would stand taller, think sharper, and act with purpose. They would be known as Homo habilis, the handyman. For the first time, the tools they used were undeniable, crafted stones shaped deliberately for cutting, crushing, and hunting. But behind those tools lay a hidden transformation far more powerful than anything seen before, because every time they shaped a stone, they were also shaping something else, their minds. The act of creation, of imagining a tool before it existed, required memory, planning, and foresight. That was the birth of imagination. And imagination was the force that would one day build civilizations, art, language, and even dreams. Yet, as this new intelligence rose, the world became darker. Predators evolved too. The climate grew harsher. Droughts turned fertile lands into deserts. Entire species vanished forever. The early humans were forced to leave their ancestral lands, wandering across Africa in search of safety. But migration meant discovery, and discovery meant change. They followed the rivers, the winds, and the stars. Each step they took carried them closer to becoming us. But here lies one of the greatest mysteries of all. Why did this evolution happen only to them? There were hundreds of other primate species alive at that time, yet only one path led to humans. Some scientists believe it was coincidence. Others think it was destiny. However, in the silence of fossils, another possibility whispers that something in the Earth itself triggered it. Magnetic shifts, cosmic radiation, or ancient diseases could have forced evolution to accelerate unnaturally. Was nature experimenting or guiding? This theory, the evolutionary leap hypothesis, suggests that life on Earth occasionally jumps forward instead of slowly changing. If that's true, then Lucy's descendants didn't just evolve, they transformed, suddenly, mysteriously, and almost deliberately. And that makes one wonder, was there a hidden pattern to our creation? Or were we simply lucky survivors in a world ruled by chance? While the mysteries of evolution deepened, another secret remained buried, a question about what they believed. We often think early humans were mindless, driven only by hunger or fear, but evidence says otherwise. Fossilized bones found in ancient caves suggest deliberate placement, as if they were burying their dead, not abandoning them. If true, that means even millions of years ago, they understood death, and perhaps something beyond it. Could it be that they had the first sparks of faith, of wondering about the unseen? The idea is haunting, because it means the roots of our spirituality, of believing in gods, souls, and afterlife, may stretch all the way back to Lucy's world. Imagine one of those early humans sitting beneath the red sunset, watching another die, and feeling a strange ache in their chest, a feeling of loss. That moment was the birth of empathy. And empathy is what truly makes us human. As centuries passed, fire would be discovered, languages would begin to form, and tribes would emerge. But those moments, the first walk, the first tool, the first tear, were the real beginnings. Yet there's still one question that no one has answered. Between Lucy and Homo habilis lies a missing link, a species we've never found, but one that must have existed. Something or someone who carried the spark from one generation to the next. Without them, the story makes no sense. It's as if a whole chapter of humanity's book was torn out and buried under time. Some scientists believe those fossils are still hidden beneath the Great Rift Valley, preserved in layers of volcanic ash and stone. Others think they've already been destroyed, erased by the same forces that created us. But there are whispers of strange discoveries that never reach the public. Unusual skull fragments found deep underground, too human to be ape, yet too ancient to fit in any known species. Fossils with marks that suggest rituals or deliberate carvings, millions of years before such behavior should have existed. Could it be that there were other forms of early intelligence, beings who rose before us, only to disappear without a trace? If so, what happened to them? Were they wiped out by nature or by something else? The more we uncover, the more we realize. The truth about 3.5 million years ago might be far stranger than science dares to admit. Perhaps our evolution wasn't just survival. Perhaps it was a message written in flesh, bone, and time. Because if Lucy's step was the beginning, then what followed was the awakening of consciousness itself, a moment when life looked at itself and asked, "Who am I?" That question, echoing through millions of years, is still unanswered. It started in the mind of a creature who couldn't even speak, yet it defines every human being today. The hidden secrets of 3.5 million years ago aren't buried in fossils. They live in our DNA, in our dreams, in our endless search for meaning. And maybe, just maybe, those early humans didn't vanish at all. Maybe they still live on inside us. Every heartbeat, every thought, every question we ask is a whisper from that ancient world, a message from Lucy's time carried across eternity, waiting for us to finally understand it. The African sun blazed down upon the ancient plains, but beneath its golden light, something far more profound was taking shape. Evolution was no longer just survival, it was transformation. Humanity, in its earliest form, was beginning to understand its own potential. Lucy's kind, the Australopithecus afarensis, had already changed the rules of life. They could walk, they could see further across the savanna, and now a faint spark of intelligence was flickering in their minds. This was the silent dawn of human awareness. 3.5 million years ago. The awakening of thought. In the heart of East Africa, among shifting sands and ancient winds, the first signs of thought began to emerge. Primitive though they were, these beings had started noticing patterns. The way certain fruits appeared after rain, or how the sound of thunder warned of distant storms. It wasn't communication as we know it, no words, no language, but there was a rhythm, a pattern of gestures and soft guttural sounds that meant danger, food, or follow me. This was the birth of understanding, a realization that survival wasn't just about instinct anymore, but about learning. And that, right there, was one of the greatest secrets hidden in the sands of time, the moment humanity began to think. Bones that spoke. Millions of years later, when scientists unearthed the fossils, they didn't just find bones, they found evidence of memory. Stone fragments hinted that early hominins had begun to use the environment to their advantage, breaking nuts, shaping stones, using sticks to reach food. Each mark, each fracture, told a silent story, a story of awakening intelligence. One discovery in particular stunned researchers. A collection of bones near the Laetoli footprint site. These remains suggested that early humans had gathered around their dead, staying near the bodies longer than needed. Why? Was it instinct? Or the first trace of emotion? Grief? No one truly knows. But it hinted that even then, 3.5 million years ago, humanity was not just evolving physically, it was evolving spiritually. the shifting Earth. While early humans were taking their first mental steps, the world around them was violently changing. Volcanoes roared across East Africa. The Great Rift Valley trembled, splitting lands apart, creating lakes and deep ravines. This wasn't just a backdrop. It was nature's forging fire, shaping species through chaos. Many creatures couldn't survive the droughts, the ash, or the heat. But the upright walkers, Lucy's kind, adapted. They moved with the land, learned its secrets, and spread across regions that would one day become Ethiopia, Kenya, and Tanzania. And somewhere in those migrations, the future of humanity was being written. The first flicker of fire, the mystery that divides scientists. Among the most mysterious questions of all, did early humans know fire back then? Some ancient ash layers, dating near 3.5 million years, contain traces that might suggest controlled burning. But scientists remain divided. If they did know fire, even slightly, it changes everything. It means they weren't just surviving nature, they were beginning to control it. Fire would later become the force that separated man from beast. It would cook food, bring warmth, forge tools, and light the darkness. But perhaps, in some forgotten corner of prehistoric Africa, the first spark flickered, and the eyes of early humans glowed with wonder as they watched it dance. The echoes of the past. Today, when archaeologists dig into those ancient soils, they are not just uncovering bones, they're uncovering the echoes of thought. Each discovery is a message from a world that existed long before language, writing, or civilization. The hidden secrets of 3.5 million years ago aren't just in the fossils, they're in us, in the way we think, walk, wonder, and seek meaning in everything. Because every spark of intelligence we have today, every invention, every question, every dream, began there, under the burning African sun, when the first human looked at the world and truly saw it. The wind howled softly across the dry plains of East Africa. Dust swirled in the air, carrying whispers from a time long forgotten. The sun dipped low, casting long shadows over the land that once gave birth to everything we know and everything we are. 3.5 million years ago, Earth stood silent, unaware that something extraordinary had begun to take shape. The hidden secrets of that ancient time were about to reveal the greatest mystery of all, the birth of humanity itself. The dawn of consciousness. Somewhere within the mind of Australopithecus afarensis, something miraculous stirred. A spark, invisible, yet unstoppable. They began to notice themselves, not just the world around them. They felt hunger, fear, curiosity, and something else, awareness. It was the first time any creature had looked at its reflection in a pool of water and paused, wondering who or what it was. That pause changed everything. It was the first moment of consciousness, the first sign that the universe, through evolution, had finally created a being capable of asking, why? And that question would echo through eternity. A world on the edge. But this awakening didn't come easy. Earth was a battlefield. Storms raged, volcanoes erupted, and predators ruled the night. Early humans weren't the strongest, fastest, or fiercest, but they had something new: imagination. When they saw lightning strike a tree and fire burst forth, they didn't just run, they watched. That moment of curiosity separated them from every other creature. They began to understand that the world had rules, patterns, and that they could learn them. This was the first science, the first philosophy, the first step toward civilization. Every danger they faced taught them something, and every victory, no matter how small, was written deep into their DNA. The legacy in stone. Thousands of centuries passed. Generations rose and fell, and each one carried a little more knowledge than the last. Stone tools became sharper, hunting became strategic, family groups turned into communities. The world was still wild, but humanity was beginning to shape it. Fossil records show that by 3.3 million years ago, tools were deliberately crafted, not broken by accident, but designed with purpose. A single shard of stone found near Lake Turkana told the story of this new power: intention. No other creature had ever reshaped the world deliberately. This was no longer evolution driven by nature, it was evolution driven by choice. The mystery of the lost ones. But there's a haunting truth hidden beneath the soil. Most of those early humans vanished. For every species that stood upright, 10 more disappeared without a trace. Australopithecus afarensis, gone. Paranthropus, gone. Each one contributed something to the great human design, but none survived to see the final form. Why? Some scientists say it was climate, others believe it was fate, but perhaps, just perhaps, they completed their purpose. They passed the torch forward, until one day, around 2 million years ago, Homo habilis emerged, the first true human. And with that, the story that began 3.5 million years ago had finally reached its turning point. The eternal connection. Today, when you look into a mirror, you're staring at 3.5 million years of history. Every thought, every breath, every heartbeat carries the whispers of those ancient beings who took their first steps under the African sun. Their bones lie buried in dust, but their legacy walks in us. The hidden secrets of that time are not locked away in fossils or stone. They live within our blood, our minds, and our endless curiosity to know where we came from. Because deep down, the greatest secret of 3.5 million years ago was never just about evolution. It was about becoming human, the end, or the beginning. Every discovery leads to another question. Every fossil tells only half the story. And somewhere, deep beneath the earth, more secrets still wait, untouched, unseen, waiting for us to uncover them. Perhaps, one day, another discovery will rewrite everything we think we know. Until then, the story of 3.5 million years ago remains both our past and our destiny.